Right, today I'm going to make pickled onions. Here's some of the ingredients. That's raw sugar in there, a jar for the onions to go into, pickling spice, it's about 1/3 of a cup of salt. That's going to go into this bowl, and the onions are going to sit overnight, and they're just going to basically brine overnight. What that does, it makes the onions crisp when you actually pickle them. So they'll be going into a bowl overnight, soaking for 24 hours, then I'll rinse them, and I'll rinse them again, then we'll put it in the jar with the actual vinegar, sugar and pickling spice combination. So now I've got the unenviable task of peeling onions. Alright, what I'm doing now is I'm just going to be making the actual brine up for the onions to sit in overnight. So I'm just putting in 1/3 of a cup of salt, it's sea salt. And I'm just going to use hot water. Give it about 3 cups, 2.5, 3 cups. That should do it. I'm just mixing all that salting. And the only reason I use hot water is to dissolve the salt. This will be cold when I put the actual onions in. I don't want to cook them, I just want them to brine. So I'll start peeling these onions. This is going to be fun. Always the interesting part. All I do is gently top and gently tail, and basically just peel off that first outer layer. So it's a labour of love. But you now can see basically that's what you're going to end up with. Alright, so that's going to be how I'm going to do all the onions. I'm going to do enough onions that will fit into this jar. Alright, well I'll get ahead and keep going peeling these onions unless you want to volunteer, and I'll see you shortly. Alright, I'm down to the last one that I'm going to use, and basically just wanted again to show you that how I peel them. I've taken the skin off, obviously. Just cut into it the first layer. You get pretty good at working out how to do that. And whoop, maybe I can show you there. So you cut a little slither down, just use your nail. Some people use a little knife. I've seen people work a lot faster than I do. Every now and then you're going to get the little membrane between the onion. You can see this here. Just get a rag, wipe it off. Right, throw that in the bin. People often say, how do you know exactly how many onions to peel? Well, as I'm peeling them, I put them in the jar. So that means that I know exactly. So that's enough onions. Alright, so they're just the raw onions, and what they're going to be done now is put into the brine, which has cooled down. Right, that's just the salt brine. Okay, so we're just going to pour those onions right into the brine. We know that they're going to fit the jar, so now they're going to stay in there for 24 hours. Now how do I keep them from rising to the surface? Got a little bit of something floating around in there. I'll just use a plate. Even upside down might even be better. So all those onions will sit in this container in the salt brine for 24 hours. So this is a long video. It's a 24-hour long video, and you have to stay here for 24 hours with me? No. I'll come back tomorrow and show you then what I do. Alright, magic of television. 24 hours later. What I'm going to do now is basically just drain these. And I'm going to rinse them twice. One more time. Now this is just going to take the excess salt away, and the brine has done its job. They actually smell like pickled onions even now. Alright, we'll take this out the back and finish making them up. Alright, now we've got the onions. They've all been washed and cleaned. And what I'm going to do now is make up the pickling. brine that goes into the actual onions. So I'm just going to show you there's about half a cup of raw sugar, which I'm going to add half a cup of water, which is a pretty standard mix for a sweet brine. Turn this on. And the only reason I'm really heating this through is to actually get the sugar dissolved. Just turn that down a little bit. Should be good. It's just going to dissolve that sugar. So this is just a sugar syrup at the moment. That's raw sugar and water. That's all it is. I'm going to add to that, these are the pickling spices. I'm just going to add a teaspoon of that to the mix. This sugar is really starting to dissolve. So I'm not after a boiling mixture at all. I don't want to cook the onions, like I say, I just want to get a nice pickling mix going. Alright, so it's half a cup of sugar, half a cup of water, and that's just about dissolved now, not too far. And now what I'm going to use is a cup of the malt brown vinegar. A little bit of sugar left in the bottom of this one, so I'll mix that around. There's a cup of malt vinegar. So I'm working on the principle about 1.5 cups to 2 cups of volume to actually fill in the jar. Now if it's a bit short, I'll just add a little bit more water and vinegar. Alright, that sugar is now dissolved, so I do not need to take that any further. It's off now. It's done what it needs to do. So I'm not cooking anything in there or heating it up excessively. So now we're talking about, let's get down to the onions. Right there, the onions. They've been washed clean twice of the brine. They're still very firm, which means they'll be quite crispy. Even just in the salt brine, they actually smell like pickled onions even now. So what we're going to do, let's get this jar. Now we're just going to put the onions, pack them in first. So I've got clean hands. In they go. Of course, you can make up a large quantity of pickled onions. I'm out of jars now. I've done a lot of pickling recently, so basically I don't have that many jars left to do, so I've got to eat what I've made first. A little bit of a shake. Like I say, all this is now, you can see there, all the sugar's dissolved. All I'm going to do, and if I'm clever I won't spill too much or nothing at all. I'm pretty sure I might need to add a little bit more liquid, but we'll see. Yep, I thought it might need a little bit. So just a little bit more vinegar. Not that much. A little bit more water. Okay. I'll top this off. Yep, so about there. So when we talk about how long before I can eat these, well, I could eat them in a few days, but I will prefer to leave them for about 40 days, maybe even 2 months. They're at their best starting then. And how long will they last? Not long, but they could last a couple of years easily. So I'll put the lid on, put the label on shortly and show you the finished product. Okay, I've got the lid on and now I'm just going to put a label on it. Again, I know they're pickled onions, but it tells me the date that I actually did it, which is the 10th of January. So that'll be basically near the end of February before I'll try the first one. Like I say, you can eat them a bit earlier. After a week you can give them a go if you want to. Because you put them through the brine to start with, they will be crisp, but you'll find after about a week you still cut through it and you see a little bit that hasn't actually been preserved yet. So just be patient. Make them, try them, and like I say, if you like what you make, I make them with the brown vinegar or the malt vinegar. I like the flavour. You can make them with white vinegar, you can make them with apple cider vinegar, anything you like. But I'm trying to encourage you to actually start making some things like this so you gain a little bit of knowledge, particularly if you're people that are still on the grid and you want to head off grid. It's good to do a few things like this so it's not strange to you when you have to do it when you're out in the bush growing your own onions and chilies and etc. So I hope you enjoyed the video, and until next time, bye bye.